Good evening, and you're not watching Bob the Builder, you are indeed watching the Car Sim and Race Driver Show with me, Hugh Hatrick, and my very special guest here and co-host, it is Andrew Marr.
Other builders are available.
Of course. And Jonathan Sutherland.
Hello. Hello.
Hello, John. Hello. Are you French? Today,
hello.
I would like you to smoke me a keeper, and then I'll be back for the breakfast, no? That's the French.
You have not tuned in to the wrong show. Do not readjust your sets. Bonjour, je m'appelle Jean. Bienvenue à la Voiture Simulator et Race Driver Show.
Guten Abend.
I can't afford the subtitle.
Indie. What?
Welcome to the show. Now tonight, although we don't have, or maybe perhaps a sim racing legend on the show, but we do have lots of banter and lots of great news coming up, and we do have our resident real racing driver. That's right, Jonathan has a racing license.
Yes. So we've got the fat racing driver, the real racing driver, and the not racing driver.
Yeah, I'm a real racing driver. Yeah, my favorite quote from when I did 2 races 14 years ago or something. Yeah.
Win at the first tournament. It's the only way.
Is watching too, so I better quickly put a message. So we are going to be talking about Hugh Hatrick Racing League, because that was one of the big ideas that came across on Monday's gaming live stream. Thanks to Keith, to Luke, and to James, I think it was, and to all the guys that were.
I can't even remember.
That we should
too busy having a tank slapper on that 4-wheeled motorbike that you were driving.
Exactly. I know that really annoyed you. I could tell that was going to
always does.
Comments. But yes, so what we're going to do tonight is to find out how on earth do we create a racing league. But we've got some ideas as to how it's going to happen. So your comments would be hugely appreciated to all who are watching all around the globe. And let's get this show on the roads, as they would say. Now, we've also got some very exciting news, because on Saturday morning at 10:30, good evening, Ant.
Hello,
Ant. Just joined us. We will be hosting, it's going to be a recorded show, Annie, who is AKA Snail Racing, another female sim racer who is so busy doing sim racing that was the only time she could fit me in. So we're going to be having that. It will be out I'll be uploading it onto my YouTube channel on Saturday afternoon. It's just a short interview, but I guarantee you it's going to be great. She's been at Knockhill racing proper real racing cars as well.
Yes, I noticed that she's got into a proper car.
What
it is, she's heard that we had a real racing driver. She got jealous and she decided she'd try and get one as well.
Yeah, exactly. So Annie from Snail
Racing, real racing driver too.
She'll be coming on the show. Well, we'll be doing a special interview with her on Saturday, so look out for that when it comes on Saturday afternoon. And the second big story that we've got, David Perel. You might just although the lighting isn't great. He is coming on the show. It's going to be at the end of September. What's the date today? Today is the 17th. 2 weeks time. So is that the 1st of October? I think it is. Is that or the 31st of September? 1st of October or the 31st of September. Well, 2 weeks time.
No 31st of September, Hugh.
I know,
We're not paying any attention at school when we did months.
It's the 1st of October, and which is
30 days have September unless you're in Scotland.
Yes, 1st of October. Make sure you're listening, because we will have David Perel on the show, and we will also have one very, very special piece of his merchandise to give away on the show. So you want to make sure that you're on the show watching that, and tell all your friends about it, because you'll be able to ask David all sorts of questions, and it should be a fantastic evening of motor racing, motorsport, and sim questioning. So, Keith is there.
I told you that 5 minutes ago.
Yes. No, I'm seeing the comments are finally coming through, which is great. So we are looking at the Hugh Hatrick Racing League. Now, I did think we could call it the Fat Man in a Cheap Sim Trophy, or the but that might offend people who might win it who aren't fat. So
that will offend the thin people.
That's true, and racing drivers tend to be thin. So that's what we have to watch
Not in
out.
NASCAR, they don't. NASCAR,
No.
they can be pretty chunky.
Montoya went to NASCAR, and look at him.
That's it.
Yeah, he's got a beard now. And
He was always a bit chubby, wasn't he?
But there we have it. So this means that we have to get a PS4 for Mr. Marr up there. So as the PS5 is coming out very soon, we're hoping that maybe perhaps one of our viewers might sell us a second-hand PS4 nice and cheap, so we can get it to Andrew because we're going to be commentating.
That's him in the cheap, man.
I fancy him, in a cheap man. Yeah.
You put the PS4 on like a chair. If you sit down too quick, it suddenly becomes a fat sim and a cheap man.
Yeah,
No?
yeah. So that's the one.
Yes,
So
what it is, it's Hugh Hattrick is trying to get me into it.
You see, well, you have to, if you're going to commentate on it, you have to have the equipment. You have to have a PS4 with the Gran Turismo game, so I can put you in the lobby, and then you can speak through and commentate.
Well, I'll be able to make some intelligent comments about how rubbish I am now.
Now, Lucas said sim racers can get away with a few extra pounds, which is true. And to be fair, David Perrell, when I last interviewed him, said that in some of his races, it is Perrell. Well,
Sorry, carry on. It's just
but Perrell of being racist.
Perrell's like
But,
David Perrell, but when he gets really angry and he hits a gun.
So it's but yeah, they were saying that in his class of racing, some of the drivers are actually quite overweight. Yeah, and there's a chance that I said, well, would somebody like myself, of let's say greater weight, be able to drive a racing car in the GT class in Blancpain? And he surprisingly said yes. There are already people who are fatter than me, so that was it. That was the thing. If you're obviously well,
A friend of mine that was from near Auburn used to say that people were built for comfort, not for speed. But in the case of sim racing, that's just not true, then, is it?
Yeah. You can get a racing sim to fit your size, isn't it? That's the thing now. But there you go.
Especially from America.
Can you get bariatric sim seats? Because for very, very fat sim racers, they have these bariatric ambulances, and all the hospital equipment in America has to be especially strong. You get a bariatric sim seat, which can maybe take up to maybe 300 kgs. You can have everything built in. You can have a little ordering thing from McDonald's. You could have a chiller underneath for your Cokes and all that kind of stuff.
For my one, I'm going to make sure that my sim rig has a huge, proper full-size Coke kind of
dispenser, or just you can have it on tap. Have a fountain.
You just have a big straw.
So I bought a plastic canoe, a big one for me and the kids. We used to go paddling around the lakes in North Wales, and it was great because it was almost indestructible and it had lots of seats and this kind of stuff. But the thing about it that I bought it from America and it had 8 cup holders. It's a canoe. It's an open canoe. And it had 8 cup holders. It's like the only thing that could make this better is if somebody had sent me an F-150 Ford pickup with it. That would have been perfect. So presumably American sim rigs have got multiple levels of cup holders. That'd be fantastic if you could build one of those. I mean, Taya's got like lots of different gear sticks, hasn't she?
Yeah.
Well, that's the French version, isn't it? Maybe, I don't know. But
it's behind my Citroen. That's why I've got so many different things to pull and press.
Well, the French version could have a little patisserie oven in it, or something like that, or maybe a garlic storage net underneath the seat, stuff like that.
Yeah. This is charcuterie. This is.
And then the Playseat Germany, the German ones could have a sort of beer stein on the side of it, and a rack for your sausages.
Dunkelbier, Schwarzbrot. What?
Who knew that your co-presenter had such lingual skills? That's incredible. I'm fluent in French. He's fluent in German. It's amazing.
Not so much fluent. Mein Deutsch ist schlecht. Yes.
Keith, if you notice in the comments, Keith has said that his car only has 6 cup holders. Although actually now he's saying now it might be 8. And he lives in Arizona, in America. So you need a pickup truck, which is at least
people in America may be thinking I'm taking the Michael, which I kind of am because we need a laugh. However, they're built for comfort, and which is why they've got to have a massive big engine in, because when you're going 3,000 miles on a road trip instead of like 20 miles down to your local chippy, you need something that just goes woofles along.
I would like to know, ask Keith why he needs more than 6 cup holders in his car. I mean, what is it? Is it a bus or a minivan, or is it a 2-door sports car? What? How do you need so many cup holders? Yeah.
He needs more. What you see?
He needs more. How can you need more than 8?
If I can somehow bring this back to sim racing,
I want to know. Sorry, technical question of Keith. Are any of them chilled? Are any of them refrigerated? Because if they're not,
that's the next thing.
Don't you live in Arizona, Keith? Doesn't Keith live in Arizona?
Yeah, but it's very hot in Arizona.
So everything's got to be chilled there, or you die.
That I'm sure he will comment and let us know.
Excellent.
But now, so for all of you,
there you go. Soda water, bottled water, wife's water, friend's water. There you go. You need lots and lots of water. There you are. Yeah.
That's not come up yet on my.
No chills.
That's it. All right, here we are. Oh, wait, so no chills here. That's very good. So, if we're going to start a Hugh Hattrick Racing League, who would like to be in it? Because obviously, I know that Keith was saying he'd be quite keen, and potentially Luke and a few others as well. But would any of my co-hosts like to be in it? Jonathan, would you like to be in the Racing League?
I was expecting.
I know. The trouble is, we race all the time. We've raced in sims. Well, certainly racing computer games here for about 20, 25 years. You are so much better than me. That's why he wants me involved. It's like, yeah, I definitely won't come last, is what he's thinking.
Let me put your mind to rest, Jonathan. If I'm involved, you won't come last.
There'll be
okay, let's. We need to get Rue a PS4 then. Yeah.
So that is the mission: is to get Rue a PS4. So if anyone, Luke has said he definitely wants to be in there, which is fantastic. So we'll have to figure out a time of day when we can all do it, and we will start this special lobby, and then we'll be able to do it. Now, the idea was perhaps we should do like 4 weeks in a row, maybe at the weekend or something like that. Now, I know obviously, Jonathan, with your schedule, we'll have to see how we can fit you all in. But I think that would be quite exciting. And obviously, what tracks would we want? Now, this is where our viewers can come into play. What would be your favourite track? I know for one, Dragon Trail would be one of mine.
Yeah, I like Dragon Trail. Yeah, the Chicane of Death.
Yeah.
I
would quite like Brands Hatch as well. I think Brands Hatch would be a really good one.
Are these all your best tracks, Hugh?
I pick, having watched it on Monday, I pick Laguna Seca.
What happened on Monday?
It was fun.
It was a bit of a...
It was a mixed fortunes, would you say?
Yeah, but I won a race on Tuesday then. I
missed that. But he would do really well. There'd be some cheating people. He tried there were 2 types of Porsches. There was the 991, I think, and the old 993, which was a bit happy slappy.
Yeah,
which he found out the hard way by trying to go in a straight line and the car refusing to want to. He was like, wait, come on, wait. And he was doing really well, and then he would understeer because he entered the corkscrew too shallow. He would understeer straight across the corkscrew, and then 5 people would go past him.
Yeah, but 911s do understeer. Those things understeer.
Hard going.
Yeah.
I did improve my time quite a bit on Tuesday. I did a bit of practice and also yesterday.
Old ones, I think they were a bit more famous for what we used to call snap oversteer, which is why in early car magazines they were called the Widowmaker.
Yeah, but then on the 997s they dialed in so much understeer that it was just you could balance it out with massive power, but it wasn't the nicest car to drive at sort of 90%.
Which is if you think about that, Porsches are meant to be famous for the front end feel and grip, darting. Because it's light and unimpeded by too much weight over it.
Yeah. So.
Yes,
Yeah, definitely. For goodness sake. And now we've also had from Luke, he was saying, would the Nordschleife be on the cards just to give a challenge?
Yes.
I think we should use the Nordschleife, but in a terrible car.
9.
Nine.
You need a bathroom break there, John? You know,
There's 400 corners. How on earth are you meant to learn that? I mean,
Easy.
yeah, I think we.
Talk to Jackie Stewart. You live just down the road from him or something, maybe? Doesn't he?
I'll get Jackie down. Yeah, actually, he's in the next door flat. Actually, Jackie.
He was the Regenmeister, and he was the master of the Nordschleife. So
he may have been, but I'm not.
As well.
Yes. Where Ken Tyrrell was talking about how good he was, and then it had him doing a lap at the Nordschleife, and it's like, I mean, when you're doing your sim stuff, how often have you got enough concentration left over if you're really trying to have a chat like it's a normal conversation? And this fella, in the days when you used to have to change gear and do the brakes and everything yourself, there's no computers. It's just you did it, and there's trees, and you're doing 175 mile an hour in a Tyrrell.
Yeah, I know. It was scary.
This wasn't like dubbed over afterwards. This is him in the car telling you, for the pine trees.
And he was dyslexic as well. So it was all, but he could remember every corner and do the whole thing. But no, that was the thing. So I think we should do the Nordschleife.
Even better.
But for that car, we should choose something really, really slow. Now, I remember they used to have those pedagio things. You know, there's really funny old, like the kind of Indian tuk-tuks type. You know, that would be quite fun round the Nordschleife.
It'll take about 3 hours.
What is that? What about? You are insane.
Yeah, I think that one might have to be like the old Fiat 500s.
Carts around.
It sounded like what?
Oh, well, yeah, the go-karts. That's a cracker. That's a cracker of an idea. What do our viewers think of that? The go-kart, because there is a go-kart. It's the first thing you win when you do GT Sport, when you start to do some of the tests.
I remember in the 80s, go-karts did like 140 mile an hour.
They do have a kind of supercar thing.
Yeah.
But that would be because you get quite a lot of slipstreaming, and also it would handle it's a wee bit wider, so you would actually be able to overtake. So I think that might help because it's obviously quite narrow. So you've got a chance that you could overtake, and if you don't, you're going to end up in the trees. But I think that would be something else. A go-kart race at the Nordschleife. Maybe this one lap.
Not for the first one, surely. You could do that on April the 1st or something. April the 1st, you could do go-karts at Nordschleife.
Now,
April the 1st,
use a different car.
All okay now.
Now, Keith said we need to use a different car at each race. So you can have a go-kart, a single-seater, a GT3, and a Samba bus. Yep, I remember that. You could get the Samba bus.
Stratos.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what's all available on Gran Turismo, to be fair. But there's a wide variety. But I think we should do the Golf GTI because you can do the Mark 1 Golf GTI. And that's available on Gran Turismo. It's quite good though, but it's really nice handling and it's quite fun. I think we can maybe do that at Goodwood. The Goodwood circuit would be quite good for that because it's not too long.
Corrado, G60 Corrado, they're good.
Yeah, I don't know if they had them on GT Sport.
160 horsepower, torque from 0 to 7,000 RPM.
Yeah,
let's have a little supercharger. It's got a
now, I've been having a little word with a few people as well who would like to come and be part of the league. And there is a possibility of one big name joining the league as well. So that
Damon Hill.
No, somebody to aim for, I was going to say. But what
I've seen you when you're angry.
But yes, the good old Rory, who we were talking to on Monday on our gaming show as well, had said that he would be right up for that too. So we could have some big names. I'm going to try and press others as well, like Josh Martin, and a few other kind of sim racing people. Maybe Taya might come in for a race. That would be quite fun if we could get Taya to come alongside and to provide some professional racing as well. That would be pretty good.
So what is the theory behind the Hugh Hattrick Racing League, Hugh? Is it for fun, or is it to make people getting better, or just get the get the group of people, your followers, together and
I think
get racing.
It's part of the community, to help reward the community who are supporting us to be able to have fun and race together, and also have some of the bigger names who are the more professional drivers as well, who have made the bigger YouTubers to come in and have a shot, and really to kind of put it all together and see how we get on. And to see if there will be who can win. You can never know. We could put some of these bigger guys under pressure and see what happens.
Probably quite a lot of pressure already, because with the weight.
But no, I think it would be great fun. And these guys.
So you want to try and get the big names, the David Perels, the Rorys, the Tejas, and all the other people that you've interviewed. You want to get them all racing together.
Yes.
Right. Okay. And you'll be rather like you're the hub, with all the interviews and all the biographies you do on sim racing. You actually want to get people to race with each other as well. That's I can see that. Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm not sure they're going to want to do go-karts around the Nordschleife, but it sounds like a good idea.
Well, the fast ones would be quite good because they did a go-kart race recently. Now, where was it they did it? I'm trying to remember where it was, and it was quite fun actually.
Real. They've got a little go-kart up there.
Who's been playing Gran Turismo in the last few weeks? I'm sure they did a go-kart race on one of the weekly events, and it was quite a short circuit. It wasn't Brands Hatch, but it was one of the ones. Was it Suzuka East? It may have been Suzuka East, and I think that would work quite well. To be fair,
they got Knockhill on that thing.
No, they don't. I'm afraid you've got to get Project.
Knockhill's fantastic. Knockhill's got like a one hill with a bend and grass and. It's like a proper old-fashioned circuit where if you get it wrong, you hit something.
A lot of fog and quite a lot of snow about this time of year as well.
I mean, it's up there.
Oh, yes, Blooming Bay. Now, Keith is saying we could do an exhibition series, so that could have all the top drivers in it, and along with some of our community as well. And then we could do our own kind of championship series with points. So that could be more for the community and people like yourself, Jonathan, and you, Andrew, as well. And we could all have a go, or I would commentate, and you and I could commentate. We'd figure out how we're going to do it, and then in turn, so you've got the pro guys having good fun and teaching us all how it's done, and then we might challenge them here and there as well, and then we could have our main championship, which, as you say, would have points, and we could have a trophy, or you could get a fat man in a cheap sim cup. And put it for them
anyway. I've told you.
You might hopefully won't have too long a wait for one of those to come. But that sounds pretty good. So I think we're getting together then with the races that we want to do, which is excellent. And how about Spa Frank?
In a cheap sim endorsed by Fat Trevor and his bus.
You think? We might have to get that livery on a few of the cars. That would be quite fun actually, but we'll see how we get on.
Fat Trevor Cup. That's what it could be called.
The Fat Trevor
Cup.
Ah,
Why Fat Man and Cheap Sim Cup? Because that's just ridiculous. That's one of your big long silly names that you come up with, like the Car Sim and Race Driver Show. What does that even mean? Fat Trevor Cup. Because it sounds like a completely mad idea, and Fat Trevor is completely mad, so that's great.
The Hat Trick Cup. And if you win 3, you get a hat trick.
Oh, yes, I'm going to come up with 3 cup. I'm going to come up with 3 gifts if you win it.
Cup from Cars.
You could win a Dacia Sandero.
A model, but from the Renault garage.
Yeah, exactly. There's just a little Sandero comes out.
Garage,
yeah.
Not anymore. From the Alpina garage.
Oh, Hugh, I've got a present for you. I need to give it to you. I'll just go and get it. I can't give it to you through the computer.
What is a surprise guest? Oh, sorry, prize. Let's see what that's going to be.
Oh,
now, if you have any questions as well for us, or for Andrew, or for Jonathan, because we've been following motorsport for over 30 years, really since the early 90s. We've been watching Formula One and all that. So we'll do our best to answer. Oh, look!
Whoa! Is it a bag?
Where did you get that from?
His head.
It's for you. You can keep it in your car, and when you go shopping, if you look just the business with your Dacia, duffel bag, whatever it is, tote bag. There you are.
Put it over your head, and then it's there.
It could be a great prize for the K-Sards.
Yeah. I'm
You
honoured
too.
to receive that gift. All right, now.
This is your prize.
No, and that was going to put people off. They're going to turn off straight away. Like, there we are. So now we've got James in exile, all the way from New Zealand. The Hat-Trick Cup, first person to win 3 races back to back, is the champion. That could go on forever, he says.
The first person to get through an entire race with 0 damage.
Yeah. On BT Sport, they don't actually do damage. They kind of get matches here and there, and that's about it.
Stopping it out. So
now the big question that has come from this is Keith wants to hear about Jonathan's racing experience.
Oh no!
Tell us how you beat K-Mag to that first corner and won.
Yeah.
Okay, John, it's over to you.
Well, I think I just split up with a girlfriend, and I thought I'm going to prove her wrong. I'm going to become a real racing driver. So I decided I wanted to do it for ages. I'd paid off my initial debts from when I started to learn to fly. So I had a bit of spare cash, and it was a couple of £1,000, I think, to do a 5-day course at Silverstone, an intensive course, in order to get your ARDS license. So I signed up, sent the check off. I was all quite excited. Booked the hotel up, the Travel Tavern up by Silverstone. And then on the first 2 days, it was mainly just a lot of ground school stuff. And then I think we did a little bit of work in the cars, a little bit of skid trial stuff. But Hugh came down, I think, for the last 2 days, was it?
I came down on the Wednesday afternoon, all the way.
On the Wednesday, right. So you came down halfway through the middle of the course. And that's actually when it got a bit more interesting. But it was towards the middle of the course when Jan Magnussen turned up, and we're like, oh, it's Jan Magnussen, because we remembered him from when you see the guy they almost set fire to in the car. Or was that? No, that's Verstappen. That's Verstappen. Sorry, totally wrong guy. And his son Kevin, who really was, I mean, he was quite precocious, but he was a really small little guy, wasn't he? He was quite
tiny,
quite tiny, but he was in a league of his own with the racing. Anyway, we got split up into a couple of groups. And well, before that, actually, we did the time trials, and they talked us through. Then we went to Lotus Exige on the South Circuit of Silverstone, and then that was to get our actual tests, to do the ARDS test. So you get in the car, the instructor, you go around, and then they instruct you how to go around. And then kind of each lap, they tell you less and less, until eventually, for the last 2 laps, they don't tell you anything at all, and you've got to drive the car as fast as possible, and then they assess you. And that's it. You've passed at that point once you've done the exams. And then the next day we went into the 2 races, which were at the Stowe circuit. It's just kind of in the middle of Silverstone. It's quite a small track, really almost too small even for the Formula Fords. But I suppose you couldn't do too much damage out there. And there's a couple of races, a bit of qualifying, a bit of practice. I spun under a yellow flag at one point, so I got my practice curtailed, much to my annoyance. But amazingly, I managed to finish in 3rd place in my first ever race, second for quite a lot of the time, and got 3rd. I think in the second race, I don't think I came 3rd, but I was towards the front. I think maybe 4th or 5th.
11th. I think you came 5th. I remember.
Was I 5th? Yeah. It was, but I started really quite a long way down, didn't I? So because it was a reverse grid, it might have been a reverse grid. So I managed to get through to 5th, which is pretty good. And then I thought, well, I better do some more racing, but quite soon after that, I moved up north with work to fly a different type of aeroplane, and there's no racetracks up here. so there's Knock Hill, but it was all covered in snow. So I never really got around to it. I did renew my license 2 years ago, though. So it is current again. So I could go racing, but as I said, I've only ever done 2 races. So yeah, didn't do much with it as I should. It's quite expensive as well.
A1's a racing track. What happened with the your what's the word I'm looking for? Phrase. Your sort of.
My mantra with racing, which is to always try and win the race at the first corner. Yeah, yes. That's my motto.
That's the story. It's no good just saying that you've got it. We know you've got it.
Yeah.
Why? Where did it come from?
Well, because throughout the entire ground school, the instructor, Steve, was telling us, now remember, don't win the race at the first corner. There's no point. It's all about getting into the corner slow and getting out of them fast. And at the end, he said, so all of you, what can you take away from the from the 3 days of lessons that I've given you today? And I said, I think what you got to try and do is win the race at the first corner. And he just went, oh.
But by that, ladies and gentlemen, you can see why we all get on so well, because we're all absolutely crazy.
But to be fair, I was watching it live, and you're on the Stowe circuit, and I remember it because before you had your main races, I think it was the day before. I remember that it was the morning before the race on Saturday morning, because it's quite early on that you were racing. You had to do a practice start. I think actually it was the day before you had to do a practice start, and the big thing was that if you crashed during your practice start, that was you out. They wouldn't allow you to race the next day. And that was more nerve-wracking than anything to watch, because you had the full grid. I think there was at least 12 of you in each race. And you were starting third. And they had to go through all the bits, like, the 5-second board, the 5-second board, the whole thing. And then you would, you're lined up on the grid, the lights went on. I can't remember if it was it 5 lights on and then off, or was it just red and green? I can't quite remember.
I think the light just went off.
Lights just went off.
One light red, and I think it just went off, and that was it. Or did they drop a flag? I can't remember. You actually remember more of it than I do, to be honest.
Because I remember trying to watch it and trying to commentate on it. Because remember you gave me the camera to try and do it, and I couldn't really see where you were going because it was kind of far on the other side. But that was the most nerve-wracking thing, hoping that you would actually get through the first corner, because you had to get to the first corner and go round it and then slow down without hitting anybody or someone taking you off. But to be fair, you managed that. And then on the first race on that Saturday morning, which was an official race day as well, you were part of a motor racing calendar in effect. That day, there were other races on throughout the day at Stowe, whatever they call it, however they pronounce it, and you had 2 races there. So it was. And
that was it.
And that was your
red.
Yeah.
Car 13. That was it.
Aye. Well, that was the thing. And then when you started third, and then you actually got the guy in second, and you went up to second place, and you held him off for a good few laps, and eventually he got past. But considering he was a professional racing driver, you did pretty well to keep him behind you. And then you finished third for your first ever race.
It was fantastic. But that we grew up in the Scottish borders here. That's where we learned to drive. So Stowe Circuit was nothing really, wasn't it? It's
that are considered to be.
And you weren't. And when they did qualifying, you weren't that far off the second place man. And I remember the main instructor came across and said, "Well done, John. That's a good, well-deserved third place for your qualifying."
He was very surprised, given a little attention I'd paid throughout ground school. Yeah.
So no, it is quite something. But you see, but that's the thing, because that's why I think we all love sim racing so much, or kind of having a go, because sim racing allows us to kind of have a bit more, kind of be closer to the action. And if you're a big racing fan, then it's more likely that you're going to want to do anything that can allow you to get closer to the action is a great thing. And with sim racing, it's brilliant, isn't it? The better the sim rig, better. Sorry,
I'm saying that if you are the action in the sim racing.
Yeah, we know, but that's it. But that's why I think we love it so much, because we all, in our early young lives, we all thought, oh yes, we'd love to be a racing driver, and and we all thought we could do that, but realizing very quickly that we couldn't, and so now this is our kind of second chance at our livelihood, isn't it, to have a go on a sim and enjoy playing all these, driving all these incredible tracks, driving these great cars, and the more the better they get, the more realism it has, and it's all great fun. Now there's big news, because the PS5, we've had more news about that. It's coming in November. In fact, I think 12th of November. There's going to be 2 versions, one without a disc and one with a disc.
Okay.
Yeah. And one is about £350 or thereabouts, and the other one is about £450. So yeah, it's actually, I thought it might be more expensive, to be fair, because I thought, with the new technology and things like that that's coming out, I'm not entirely sure. I have to say, I'm not an IT expert. So it'd be interesting from our viewers' point of view as to what's the difference. Because surely if you buy the one that doesn't have the disc drive, how are you supposed to make the games work? I mean, I know a lot of them are through downloads, but I know it sounds like a basic question. But and this is the Car Sim and Race Driver Show, and we need basic answers. So,
well, presumably the new games don't need discs. I mean, it's as simple as that. It's all done with solid state memory, and it just keeps it on either on the cloud, or you just have a game key, but that's a Steam key or something, whatever it is, and then you can just access it like that. And is the one with the disk drive then the only reason you'd have that is so you can use PS4 games on a PS5, perhaps? I don't know.
Yeah, I think they are supposed to be.
Download games, because you can do that with the others, can't you? You can contact the PlayStation Store and buy the game online.
Yeah, I mean, some games are giving you, if you've got the one on PS4, they'll give it to you free on PS5. I think one of the rally games was potentially. I think one of the was it Dirt Rally or one of the rally games I think was doing that. But a lot of the big kind of army games, shoot 'em ups, are probably not going to do that. But so I don't know about I imagine GT Sports or GT7 when it comes out, you'll probably have to pay for that. I would have thought. But they might transfer your gaming record from. They did that before. You could.
I don't want mine transferred. Thanks. That's fine. I want to leave that behind. I want a fresh start.
So you're one of these guys that wants a revolution. Come the revolution.
Hugh, we were having a little bit of gaming the other night, and maybe a week ago, and he watched me do a race, and he was very good. He's a very good instructor. As long as you don't beat him, he's very good. As soon as you start beating him, he gets quite unhappy. But as long as you're slower than him, he's excellent. And it was a Red Dwarf thing. I know people maybe don't know Red Dwarf, but he said, "Oh, I'll look up on Qzos or whatever it is and see your gaming record." And he just went, "Oh, oh dear, oh no." And I was like, "What's wrong? Is it really bad? Really bad?" He says, "Yes. Well, never mind. I'm sure you'll be fine." And he.
I can't remember how many points you had. It was about 7,000 or 8,000, was it not?
It was 7,000, but that was after 10 years of gaming. And you said you got, even on your secondary account, which had 2 months, you got 20,000 or something. So yeah, it's obviously absolutely appalling at this game.
To answer a question from Keith, it was saying from Luke, as to which version we're going to get. I think I'm going to get the one probably with the disc drive, so that I can play the other games on it as well. I think it might just be worth getting the one that's would be possibly a bit better.
At that point, Hugh, you're going to have 3 PlayStations. So what are you going to do with all the other ones?
Well, I might
give one to.
If I can't, I was going to say if I can't find a cheap PS4, then you might be getting our old one, Andrew. That he'll be getting it sent to you with all. You
get Hugh's sim racing record on it. You might get that on it.
I'll be getting hassled. They'll be like.
Everything will be cleared.
I want to beat you.
but at least you have a chance.
Somebody to trash.
It's just roboting it. It's roboting a little bit. You're roboting a little bit, and maybe the Welsh internet
is your. Oh, you can see us. Yeah,
it's fast and fantastic.
So there we are. So yes, you'll probably get my old one potentially, unless I can get another one beforehand, and we'll see how it goes. But I have to say, I am looking forward to the new GT Sport because it's supposed to be a revelation compared to the current one, which is pretty good overall. And that would be the thing. Now, an interesting question as well that we've had, although not on the comments, but one I got earlier on from one of our viewers, was an update on the penalty system. I'm sure this is going to get everyone going. Because is it actually working? Because what happens is now, if you touch someone, it's quite likely you will get a major penalty. The only issue is sometimes it goes wrong, and if somebody else hits you and you go off, and then you get the penalty, which is not great. But a lot of people have been saying that if you keep things clean, then the new penalty system actually works quite well. So therefore, maybe it is actually working. Now, I would love to hear the comments from our viewers. What do you think? Is the new penalty system actually working? And to Jonathan as well, I know because you play the game a bit like myself. Do you think the new penalty system is working a bit?
Well, it seems to be that if someone touches you from behind, you get a penalty sometimes. So from that point of view, I don't see how that can possibly be fair. But I suppose you just have to play with whatever penalty system there is. The algorithm's obviously designed to as it is, but it seems that people will learn exactly how to tap you, so you get a penalty.
Yeah, no, I think that's the thing. And James is saying was hoping that GT7 would be released at the time of the PS5. That would be good. And he says he likes the current system. Don't touch and don't be penalised. which I think to some degree is I think because I didn't used to always race with the radar, because you can put the radar on and you can see where people are, and that can certainly help when you know that someone's going to try and dive bomb you, because I had that on Monday with somebody dive bomb me with Laguna Seca. So that can be quite a thing, but I think if you can just, because I remember Super GT talking about this, when you're behind, say, two drivers that are crashing into each other all the time, and you kind of know there's going to be a lot of friction, if you can somehow, keep up with them, but avoid them at the same time, then they're probably going to go off. And if you just keep your corners right, you should be able to get past them without any trouble.
You had this on Monday. There was 3 cars ahead of you. You were catching them up quickly because they were messing around trying to take each other off almost on purpose. It was obvious to me that they were just smacking into each other. The trouble is that as you were catching them up so quickly and you, I think, is approaching the corkscrew, they just nearly stopped dead in the road and you punted one on the rear end. There's nothing you could have done about that.
That's it.
If you end up getting a penalty because of that, that's why I was asking John, does the computer think that you are brake testing somebody? Or
well, that's right, and that's what Keith said in the chat. Actually, is that people are hitting you at the back. It's penalising you for going too slow into a corner, but that's pretty subjective, really, because who knows what's going on ahead of you? If you're following 2 people who are having a close battle, you're going to go a little bit slower into the corner because you're a bit concerned that they may block the track, or maybe they are going slower because they're having a battle, and you get hit from behind.
I mean, if you go in slow, you and take a late apex, you've got some chance of getting a better drive down the next straight, or you can go in slow to block the people behind you so they can't overtake you. This is all tactics in racing. They can't penalise you for suddenly. I mean, violently braking on the racing line is one thing. Going in a bit slower to keep people behind. It's the problem they have in British touring cars when they'll smack someone at the rear end, especially if rear-wheel drive. That sends them out, and then they just get past. It's bumper cars. It's dodging.
Hopefully, the new PS5 will have more powerful AI, so it can perhaps have a slightly better penalty system. Perhaps maybe they're trialing a new algorithm on the last of the GT Sport before introducing GT7. I don't know. Well, they've changed something, that's for sure.
Garbage in, garbage out, isn't it? It's only as good as the programmer. If they can't find a way of describing to the the program.
To make it work. Keith was saying, I'm happy that there is a penalty system, though at least, and he'll take it as that, because on some games it is kind of crazy. Like Forza, they just pile on and crash into you. I know they've done different things with penalty systems recently, but we used to watch the old Forza games with Super GT because they were hilarious because of the crashes and all the kind of stuff that happened. And people coming straight for you, when you were ramming them or different things, so they would just come right at you. But I decided that yesterday I had to go on my kind of third account, which is quite fun. I know we're different accounts on these things, and I had to go at Maggiore, which had some good races there, but also the Laguna Seca and the 911. And I have to say that was great fun. I just really like that track because it demands your best efforts, and if you can get it right, if you can just try and put the corners together. It's really satisfying, and it's good fun. Because also the kind of the desert all around is crazy. So if you go off, that's you kind of for miles off, But we had some really, really good races, and even starting at the back was quite fun. The challenge was how far could you get, because I wasn't under any pressure to try and get to the front. And I won at one point. I started about 11th, and I got up to 3rd place, and then I got rammed, and I think I finished 8th. But it was quite a good lobby overall, without all of that. But no, so I think it's a great challenge, and I think people really like that. So I hope they do. Laguna Seca is just a great racetrack, and it's one of my favourites.
It's a technical track, isn't it? Because you need to be in the right place. It's like the corkscrew. Because I wanted to ask you a question about this, and it's. I just don't want you to think I'm criticising your racing, because that's not what I'm doing at all. The corkscrew's got a much wider line than most people seem to think it needs. I was watching Taya do an endurance race.
I actually came 3rd in that. I was the one she did quite well.
They did really, really well. I can't remember the name of the partner that she was driving with, but she used to take this narrower line, and then a partner would take to be the correct line, which is you turn in later so that you don't understeer through.
I knew I wasn't doing it right. But the
thing is, the question I wanted to ask you is because it would have been easy for me to sit and go, oh, it's taking the wrong line there. But I don't know how intuitive the input of the steering wheel is, if that makes any sense. You know, the worry I have with all of these games is that if in a real car, I would be able to edge my way out. If you're on the edge, it's more difficult. How accurately can you place the car in that game?
I think it's fairly straightforward. I think the key thing is you have to concentrate on your own race. And when you have lots of other cars around you, the mistake is either you don't always see your braking points, because depending what viewpoint as well you've got from the car. I sit with the dials on, so that makes it maybe not as easy, or maybe not. Some people like to have it in front of the bonnet, so they're a wee bit higher up, so that maybe they can just see a little bit better. But yeah, no, I admit that was the corkscrew was a bit there where I thought no,
because you get a right kick and then it goes into the corkscrew itself.
Yeah.
And because I noticed that you had the line on, and you were hitting the first line marker, but then the kink continues to the right, and the natural thing to do is what you and most other people were doing, which was heading for the corner then instead of staying wide and then zipping in. The trouble is, of course, as you were saying, you got 3 people behind you trying to punt you off the circuit, and if you go a little bit wide into that corner, they're stupid, and they try to come up the inside because they think, oh, a gap, bang. Yeah. The fact is that if they carried on that line in a reel with no one else around, they just go straight on and end up going straight across the grass too. Down, you know.
Some good points there by In Exile. I think he's just going to head off there, but yeah, good to see you there. Get back to work in Australia.
Yeah, it's good to have you there, James. And he was learning to read other drivers is important, and quickly identifying other style and driving accordingly. One can learn and successfully force blockers into simple mistakes, and that's definitely.
I think that's so important. It's not something you can teach either. It's something it's the same on the road. You know, if you're driving on the road on your car, sometimes you can see someone in the middle lane and they haven't indicated, but it's almost like car body language. They kind of look in the mirror and you know what I mean?
Yes, I know exactly what you mean. I've always had a skill of being able to tell the number of accidents I've avoided of other people because there's just some sixth sense. And it's not a sixth sense. It's an internal processing of stuff. You know, the thing that person is doing in their car, and you go, they're going to cut straight across all 3 lanes right now, and they do. So you anticipate and you brake. And the people that drive, this is why I hate tailgaters. It's not just because they're within the thinking distance and they're so stupid to think their carbon fiber brakes would actually be used before they smash into your rear. It's also because you're not giving yourself any time to react to any kind of weird thing going on. But they don't care. I'm in a metal coffin, as us motorcyclists like to call it. I'm fine. But yeah, absolutely. It's the difference between the Verstappens, the Clarks, the what's his name? Hamilton, that's him. Ricardos of this world, and the Grosjeans, and probably Albon, because Albon seems to be quite fighting that kind of thing. Though not. I don't think he's up to the standard of the best because he keeps blaming other people when he puts himself in a position to be hit. Oh, they took me off. Yeah. The guy who
the type of move, isn't it? Yeah, it's a kind of
world champion that you're taken on the outside of that corner who was going very fast and doesn't want you to get past him, may oversteer into you or understeer into you.
You might be able to answer this question, Andrew.
Me?
Is Grosjean retiring at the end of the year? Because I heard a rumour that Grosjean had announced his retirement at the end of the year. But I don't know.
That. There is rumours that Haas are going to have a whole new driver lineup. Which
I wonder.
Hulkenberg to go. Hulkenberg and...
I wonder.
Imagine Hulkenberg and Perez back
together. There is. That could be quite an interesting tie-up, actually, to be fair.
Money, Hulkenberg will get paid with it, and they'll both be quite fast because they were kind of like...
That's true. Yeah. So, and you kind of felt Hulkenberg deserved a little bit more time. He definitely deserved, another chance to get up there.
I sent a tweet to that idiot Jolyon Palmer, who I think is just thick as 2 short planks. He's such an idiot. This is the guy that said, I don't understand why you get broken limbs on a motorbike in gravel. I wanted to jump through the Radio 5 and slap him around the face. clueless. I mean, seriously clueless. He's got a degree, you know. Anyway, he used to be his teammate, this kind of stuff. And I think Jolyon Palmer's got a bit of a problem with his own little ego, talking about how he was always beaten by Hulkenberg and he had a big ego and all this kind of stuff. But I've noticed over Hulkenberg's career, there's been a few times when he's done seriously well. I mean, much better than his normal, fairly good driving. He's kind of shown his real, the measure.
Pole position in Brazil, was it not? I think it was pole position in Brazil.
Pole position in his first season,
with
Williams, which was wet, but still in the wet you can see real car control, and it was in a slower car.
Yeah.
But when he won Le Mans, he came back and was like a different driver for a couple of 3 weeks.
Yeah. No, that's definitely.
The psychology of it's always fascinated me. This kind of the confidence, that you believe yourself. Hakkinen was super fast, had a massive accident, lost all of his confidence, got gifted the win by Coulthard, different guy, 2 times world champion, fast as anything. Couldn't overtake the toffee, but he was fast.
Apart from the one in Belgium when he overtook Schumacher.
The most amazing overtakes. The only one he ever did. If he was lower than third, he gave up and went on board now.
Would you like? I thought.
By the way, I absolutely adore Hakkinen. He's so funny. And I thought
especially when he taught James May how to race, how to rally drive. That was very good.
Yeah. His finish, he's got all that dry, introverted, sarcastic humour that all the best Finnish racing drivers have. Love him. It's fantastic. That little wry smile he does.
Now, I thought I would save the best overtaking story, or I think certainly it's quite a good overtaking story, till last. Now, Jonathan, how many overtakes can you remember me doing? That these are not actually on track, to be fair. These were on the road. That would be. That I would say that you might think were significant.
I don't know.
The potential for wrong would be quite high.
There's been so many. Throughout us growing up, some of your manoeuvres have been phenomenal, shall we just say? If you'd had dash cam footage, you could have an entire YouTube video just of your manoeuvres around Edinburgh.
It'd be 100 million views on YouTube.
Yeah, you would be. Well, you'd very probably be in jail, actually. But I mean, but you'd be rich in jail.
I could afford
keep the proceeds. Which particular lunatic maneuver are you talking about?
I think it was the one with the BP petrol tanker, which was going down Sutra.
Oh, right. Well, I wasn't in the car then, but I remember you ringing me up afterwards.
Yes. Well, allegedly, a long time ago.
Allegedly. Somebody who may or may not be present.
Yeah.
There was a young boy called Hugh.
Yeah.
There was a young man called Fat Trevor.
Yeah.
It's loosely on a man we may know.
Yeah. I was driving his car going down to the Scottish borders. And there was a big queue. It was the summertime, and I thought I wanted to get past and get home. So I managed to overtake about 10 cars between Edinburgh and this particular section of road. And then I got to the front of the queue, and the only vehicle that was left in front was a BP petrol tanker. Now, it was at the time when the tankers didn't have the bars on the sides. Now, you might think, why am I telling you that they have bars on the sides? Because this would be a significant kind of life-saving feature. Because now they have to have bars on the sides. And I think it was probably introduced after my near miss. And so I was coming down the road, and I thought, great, it's clear. I'd been to Specsavers. I had my glasses on. I could see them coming. And I pulled out, and I started my overtake. Now, there wasn't an awful lot of power in a 1.1 Fiesta 5-speed from 1986. I think about 50 horsepower. But I got about halfway along the lorry, where, to my horror, somebody had pulled out of a driveway on the other side of the road. And he hadn't looked at all, and he had turned left, and he was coming straight towards me. And he had pulled up at quite a lot of speed. And I thought, well, he might maybe try and go on the pavement to avoid me. But no, he was going. And of course, I'm still overtaking this lorry at the time. So the only thing I thought I could do was to slow down a little bit. But there was obviously a line of traffic behind the lorry. So there was no way I could kind of fit back in the front of the queue. So I had to actually go between the rear wheels of the lorry, and it was a three-wheeler lorry at the back. You know, it had 3 sets of big wheels at the back and then 2 wheels at the front. And I managed to get my little Fiesta between the rear wheels and the front wheels of the lorry and come as close as I could in. Now, it was one of these ones, you know, it had the oval side, so it was kind of cut in a bit, so you could bring the car in a wee bit. And so I managed to get it as close as I could. And I remember it because thankfully the lorry driver kept at the same speed. And the sign, the only sign I could see was flammable when I looked to the left. And it was absolutely true. And then there it was. Anyway, then the car went past me the other way. And this was all done, of course, in a few seconds. And then I came back out, and thankfully there was nothing else coming up. There was nothing else coming up, finished on this bit. And then I overtook the lorry and were on the way up the hill. And the thing is, I got up the hill, and you know, the lorry, I think he must have slowed down after I overtook him, because it was quite an experience. And I had visions because there was an old farm park on the other side, and I thought if that had gone wrong, we would have ended up flying off into the farm park, and they would have been burning chickens and everything else, you know, at the end of it. So off we went. And I remember when I got to the top of the hill, my heart started beating away. And I thought, my goodness, what have you done? You know, what kind of move was that? And when I finally got home, and it was, I remember getting home, the first person I phoned when I realized my mother was not in the house, so she was in the garden, so she wouldn't hear, it was you. So that I phoned you to say, I've just had the most incredible driving maneuver of my life. And you said, what happened? You know.
We used to ring each other quite a lot with stories when we'd done something ridiculous in the car. We probably felt rather bad about it and a little bit nervous, so we wanted each other to tell each other it's fine, these things happen. It's like one of these absolute lunacy moves. One of my favorite stories when we took your old VW Polo, that old A-Regin you got, the 1983 car, and it had a hole in the fuel tank about a third of the way, or no, 2/3 of the way up. So you only have half a tank in, or the fuel will just pour out the tank through the hole in the tank. So, but then we were going along and around a bit. But there was a slight smell of fuel in that car because of the fuel leaks. But the exhaust just came off, and it got jammed under it, and there was just sparks flying out the back of the car as we got to Dalkeith on the way out of Edinburgh. And I said, Hugh, stop, I can smell fuel, and all I can see behind is flames. So we stopped, and you were like, not again. And we wait for it to cool down, and we just pulled the exhaust off, and the fuel was kind of dripping, and these sparks and stuff, and it was kind of red hot molten metal. And we just threw the exhaust in the boot, and we just drove off. It was just, we're in a bomb. I mean, we're driving a VW bomb.
At least we didn't litter.
FSO Polonaise I used to have. If you rings any bells to any of you?
The FSO where the gearbox exploded and all sorts.
Way before the gearbox exploded, I went for an interview at Edinburgh University, and this was the day after I'd passed my driving test. So I wasn't always as sensible. So we're going up the M6 in a 1.5 litre FSO Polonaise with my fiance at the time and my ex-best friend, Rob. And when we got onto the A road, I don't know which A road it was, going across to Edinburgh, or that side, he asked me to stop the car, got out and said, if you keep driving that fast, I'll be walking from here. You only passed your test yesterday. Because I'd been driving for like 3 years at that point, just on L plates, and I'd driven a lot. I've been a lot of dual carriageways. It wasn't my first motorway. In fact, I took the car back to where I was living that night after driving about 50 miles up and down the M62 from Huddersfield, so because I wanted some practice in the quiet.
How fast would an FSO go? That's the thing.
On the clock?
On the motorway.
I don't know, obviously, for legal reasons. However, I believe it was possible to register 105 miles an hour on that speedometer, which wouldn't be accurate, but isn't bad for a car.
Yeah, not for an FSO.
Early 70s was a Fit 124?
Yeah. We've got a great question here. A great question here from Look at the Sim Hub. If you guys could have an experience day at any track with any car, what would you pick and why? That's a good one, isn't it? Oh,
Be at Spa, and it
That
would
is
be
good. That's an excellent question.
in one of two cars, if not both. I would like both, but one of two cars. Either the McLaren F1 or the McLaren P1 or both, and it would be at Spa. No other circuit in the world will do. It's got to be Spa. My favourite circuit.
that's
And my
pretty good
favourite
going.
two cars. I mean, the F1, I suppose it'd have to be the F1. If I couldn't get the F1, the P1, but I'd rather have both.
That is a good one. Jonathan, what about you?
Sorry to jump in there, but I knew the
Yeah,
answer.
well, I'm going to go for whichever track is in somewhere really hot, like California. It's really hot at the minute; it's on fire. But is Laguna Seca? Is that in California somewhere? Is it somewhere over there? Anyway, so I take a track.
He brings in
Laguna Seca is a hot part of America. Anyway, let's go.
Hadster.
Florida. Well, that would work too. Somewhere nice. Yeah, we could do. Laguna Seca. Let's say in an F1 car. I think a 1990 Mansell's 93 Williams at Laguna Seca. There we go.
That would be quite, yeah, that is a tough track because it's not really
Northern
designed for
California.
F1.
There we go.
You've had the experience of driving something, a single seater, and you're a little bit shorter than me.
Oh, good evening, Whoopi.
Webbo has always had.
Don't worry, we're still going. We're still going strong. You're always welcome. And of course, to all our viewers, you're all welcome. It's great to have you with us. We're talking about, we've been asked the question, what track and racing circuit, if we could ever do with any car and any track, where would we go? Now, I'm thinking I would love to do the F1 Renault experience that some of the YouTubers have been lucky enough to do, where they get a detuned Renault F1 with a V8 engine. And normally they've done it in Paul Ricard, which I would not want to go around because I'm really not particularly keen on that circuit at all. I think I would like to do Abu Dhabi. I think that's what, but I don't know if I want to do it at night or the kind of sun.
Yeah.
I think maybe just on a nice bright sunny day would be absolutely fine. But on the full track,
Oiled to death.
yeah. But there's something quite special about that. I like that circuit. I think the marina, the whole thing. I think that would be incredible. So I think
That
Abu
would be
Dhabi
very cool.
in a Renault F1 experience car. In the V8, that's what I would quite like. I think that would
Not a
be.
V10.
Go there in January when it's snowing in Scotland and you've got that beautiful sunsets over the Middle East. That would be really cool.
Yeah, I think.
And then
you
you
know,
can go swimming.
I think that. What did it say?
I
When,
mean, warm water. Swimming. Warm water.
yeah, more water. But
No,
but yeah,
I'll come and watch, right? You do the driving, and then I'll go swimming. After, obviously.
all right. Right now, Shortmaster is saying a 24-hour endurance in supercars like Bugatti and Koenigseggs.
Oh, Koenigseggs.
That would be. Now, would that be for, in other words, doing a car and track, or would that be for our league race? Because that could be an interesting one for
Can we
you.
get the Koenigseggs?
Because I
I
know
don't,
that
think, I don't think the league race could be 24 hours, Hugh. I think I can't stay up that long.
Though
Yeah,
I might have a chance of winning.
well, similarly,
it's
you can only stream for 12 hours at a time, and then they have to restart. That's what Rory was saying the other day. I mean, no, that would be something. And Louis, as an Aussie, I would say Bathurst in a V8 supercar. Actually, that would be pretty.
Yeah,
wouldn't it?
Bathurst's got a nice sort of as well.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, there's so many great. I mean, it's hard to have one
Island
pick.
as well. I've seen Phillip Island quite a few times with Rossi winning there. Good old Valentino.
Yeah. How about Donington Park in an Alfa Romeo 155 touring cars like Tarquini and the ones that he raced way back in '94 and things like that? I think that would be quite fun.
I tell you what, I'd like to drive if we're going to go to oldie fashioned touring cars. I quite fancy the 850 T5.
Yeah, that. Similarly, the new game is going to have that. That new touring car game is going to have.
You've got to get the noise right, because if it's not that 5-cylinder, it's just going to sound rubbish. It's just.
Yeah, no, that was a very distinctive noise indeed.
Well, they bought it from Audi. Because Audi's 20 years on the patent because they invented the 5-cylinder.
Yeah, it should be
running out. So they kind of sold it. They got a bit of money up front, and they sold it to Volvo and. Well, sold to Volvo. I don't know whether Fiat bought it or whether they designed their own.
Because Fiat had a 5-cylinder as well at that time, didn't they?
It's a nice little car, that Fiat Coupe. It's the only car my wife said I looked good in. I think it's only compliment to everything. So,
Well, we better before
sorry, I'm being cruel. That bitch.
Before we finish on Andrew's on relationship experiences, I better let everyone know about our big announcements of the next few weeks. Now, on this Saturday coming, I'm going to be interviewing Annie, aka Snail Racing. That's right, another female racing driver and sim racer, and that will be done in the morning. Now, unfortunately, we can't do it live. It's going to be recorded, but I'll put it up onto YouTube on Saturday afternoon. So that's one to watch out for. And also, as you see on the screen there, David Perel, that's right. He's coming on the show on the 1st of October at 9 o'clock. So he'll be here for our live show, answering your questions. And we're going to have a special piece of one of his bits of merchandise to give away on the show. So make sure you tell all your friends, share it out. Let the sim community know that David Perel is coming on the Car Sim and Race Driver show in
Is it a forced
2 weeks'
feedback
time.
steering? Because that'd be quite useful.
Sorry?
Is it forced feedback steering wheel? I just wonder.
Oh, yeah.
No reason at all.
You do get forced feedback on a sim racer, on the pedal.
I know. I was looking up after we had that conversation earlier. I had a look, and there's a really nice Logitech G9293, 923, whatever, something that looks really good, but it's like 400 quid. So.
Well, here's the thing. Now, here's one that you'll like, Andrew. Loopy Racing has said the Isle of Man with a superbike. Because you like your bike.
One of my favourite rallies ever was Addy Vartanen doing the Manx Rally.
Yeah.
I mean, and this fantastic bit. You look at it up on YouTube. Addy Vartanen is in an Opel Manta GTE back in the day, proper cars.
Yeah.
So nice. Back in the days when 4 cylinders sounded good instead of like an asthmatic fart.
Yeah.
And he's parrying. He's doing some like 120, 100 to 130 mile an hour down these roads. Drop on this side with a dry stone wall. And he takes a corner a little bit too tight, slaps the back end, starts fishtailing. No tank slappers. Gently fishtailing at over 100 mile an hour towards a cattle grid with 2 metal fences like this. And the fences go that all metal. All you see, you got the co-driver go. He looks up while he's doing this. Dear God, that's all he got. And then he goes, Get up on YouTube. Fantastic. It would have sliced the car in twain.
Goodness.
Just fantastic car control. And it had burst the back tyre. Hitting the wall and burst the back tyre. He could car control at over 100 miles an hour. Gently fishtailing through this little gap.
Yeah. See, that's a car you'd think Volkswagen reintroduce. You know, a new version of the Opel Manta. But what do we get? We get what was that horrendous 3-door that they did? Oh, it was so bad, and they've dropped it now. No, that wasn't great. But you know that tiny little car that they did up until about a year ago.
Tigra.
Yeah, the Tigra was bad, but
which was the Vauxhall Corsa
with a bit of
with less torque.
Yeah. But you know that horrendous. It was not the Arosa. No, it's that one. Oh, begin with an A. It was it was a very basic kind of 3-door. It was to kind of compete with the Minis and the Fiat 500s.
The Vauxhall Abysmal.
Yeah, Vauxhall Abysmal. Very good. The Abysmal LX. You know,
Vauxhall Veruca.
LXS with electric windows. You no longer have to wind them down yourself. Nobody's had to do that for years.
You know, but yeah, I mean, what a history. You've got things like Opel Mantas with, you know, all of that. And then they bring out
the earliest Vauxhall you can remember?
The Vauxhall Viva.
Yes, same as me. And it was a green one, and it was one of my big brother's best mates, Vinnie Green's. And it was a 1.3. I remember sitting in, and it had that smell of leather, because it was leather in those days, wasn't it? It was actual leather.
Yeah. And Vauxhall Chevettes as well, because he said he didn't know why. Well, actually, said it was appropriately called a Chevette, but he used to call it a Shove-It, because that's all he was able to do was to shove it around as it would stop and stall and break down.
Guy that I used to live with in Huddersfield when I was doing my degree had one, and it, popped on nicely. And then you get the rally version with the Magnum engine in it, 2.3. That's 250, 300 horsepower. What? That had a live axle. It was a terrible car. I mean, it's just like they just put a massive engine in the front for Britain, you know. It's superb. But the best one is, remember the Talbot Sunbeam and the Horizon? Right. Yeah. Well, obviously the Lotus Sunbeam is a very special car. A 2.2 litre engine there. When I lived in Germany, I used to go to the American base there a lot. So a lot of American friends in the army. And one of them had this car that he absolutely hated because it was this horrible, cheap American car, you know, a car that an American wouldn't normally buy, but it's kind of like it was cheap and that they do. And it was the Chevy Chevelle, which was, it was told that 2.2 injection with an automatic gearbox and the ugliest lights you've ever seen in your life. You know, like 70s American lights and 80s American lights where they went, style? We don't need no net. Make them square.
It's the kind of car they'd have on the was it on Chevy Chase's kind of Christmas Adventure or something, or you know those kind of the Christmas vacation.
Where everything's going to go wrong and everyone hates the car.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing. Now we have
I'd like to point out to our American viewers, I don't hate American cars. I really like American cars. There was this period in the 70s and 80s, early 90s, where they just went,
really?
we can't bother them all. You know, these are the people that came up with some beautiful, incredibly mad cars ever in the 50s, 40s, 50s, 60s. Yeah. I mean, there's a reason we all love Bullitt. And it's not only Steve McQueen. No, it's quite a lot of Steve McQueen. You know, he's burning the brakes out in San Francisco on an iconic car.
The term land wheel that came from American cars, wasn't it? The big old limousines. You know, those kind of Lincoln.
Front wheel drive that made of plastic. They got blancmange instead of suspension. Come on.
That was the thing.
I'm going to have to drop out now because I've got to go and do a real simulator tomorrow, and I've got to get up super early. So I shall dive out for now. But it's been great fun, and enjoy the rest of the show. Take care, guys.
Take care, John. Bye now. There we are. Well, it's just the two of us left.
Well,
but lots of viewers, which is fantastic. So now the Shortmaster has said he was very impressed that Top Gear was able to race a Bentley Continental in a rally stage. Now that was pretty good actually. But modern cars though can do an awful lot more than you think. You know, I mean, that's especially these incredible hypercars. But probably on that note, we will call it a day. As we've been going for well over an hour and 10 minutes, which is fantastic. But a big thank you to all our viewers and listeners who'll be watching tonight and who's been listening on the podcast as well. It's a preview of the Racing League commentary.
You have no idea.
Yeah, that is going to be fun.
And listen to some of the stuff we got up to when we were
when we were reviewing the
F1 races.
Of course, all the videos that you see here, most of them are all available on Podbean as well as podcasts. So it's very easy to get a hold of them. And of course, we'll have Annie from Snail Racing on Saturday. We'll put that up on Saturday afternoon. And in 2 weeks' time, we'll have David Perel. And I'm hoping as well to have Jeff Colclough, who of course is Thea's fiancé. He has agreed to come on the show as well. So we will have him on the show. I'm not sure if it'll be in a week's time, but we'll do our best.
For me, I'll join you on that one.
Yeah, but so there we go. Without looking too awkward, you've been watching the Car Sim and Race Driver Show with me, Hugh Hattrick, with Andrew Marr, and of course Jonathan Sutherland, who's had to head back and do some work. But I'll let you finish the show, Andrew, with our famous motto.
Drive fast and try not to crash. Instead, win at the first corner.
Take care. See you all very soon. Bye just now.
Bye.